Today, we will be discussing my top 10 night rides in Ohio. Night rides are some of the best roller coaster experiences, and I love a really good night ride. And I've been lucky enough to have been on a solid amount of night rides, so I'll be ranking my top 10. Before we start, there'll be no Top Thrill 2 because obviously it isn't open, and maybe the best night ride in all of Ohio, the Beast, will not be on this list, sadly. But other than those rides, I've been on a good amount of night rides, and let's begin. In last place is Flight of Fear. I don't really know if this counts since it's always in the dark, but I needed one more for this list. Flight of Fear has a solid launch and a twisted mess of track that's okay, but not great. It's just overall a very inconsistent ride, and that's why it's so low. Some sections it's flying, and others it's just crawling. It has a good corkscrew to end the ride, but it would be so much better if the midcourse didn't stop the ride completely, and if the consistency was a little bit better. Up next is Valravn. This is one of those rides where the experience really isn't enhanced a lot by being in the dark. The ride is very similar to what it would be during the day, just a smooth ride with good drops and some inversions thrown in. The two 90-degree drops are great and very underrated. Plus, the zero G roll and final airtime hill are slept on as well, and basically all of Valravn is very underrated. And it's still a good ride at night, and seeing it drop while walking up the midway is always sick and just an amazing way to exit the park on your way out. The 8th spot is the Bat. This ride is just crazy at night. Since you're in the little corner of the park where there are no lights, you actually can't see anything out there, like actually nothing. You swing from side to side and it's so whippy, so good, and very underrated. And people also underrate how this ride is actually pretty intense. All the turns are pretty intense for a 31-year-old coaster made by Aerodynamics. And I hope Kings Island can keep good care of this thing because it's a great ride and it's a great supporting cast ride for this amazing Kings Island lineup. Next on the list is Banshee. This ride, especially in the second half, is a really good night ride. The first half is pretty standard since there are a lot of lights by the midway, but once you get to the second half, that is really where the ride begins. You have the pretzel knot, and when this ride is flying, it's so intense, and definitely the most intense moment at Kings Island. Plus, you have another loop and a Heartline roll to finish this ride, and overall, this is just a quality night ride. 6 is Diamondback at Kings Island. This is personally my favorite night ride, being that my first ever Diamondback ride was at night, and I'm very sad to see this not in the top 5. The first drop and the first 2 hills have amazing floater, and the 2 hills feel like they last forever. It's like actually a good 6 seconds. And the rest of the layout sprinkles in more airtime hills and turns, and the splashdown is also very cool at night. Overall, a very good night ride, and I am very sad to not see it in the top 5, but the top 5 night rides in Ohio is just that elite. Up next is Mystic Timbers. Even though this is considered a worse night ride compared to the Beast, I still think that it's elite and a much better night ride compared to it being broad daylight. Flying past the trees at night while getting ejector airtime is crazy. And it runs so fast at night, it's just non-stop ejector the whole ride, and it really makes you take a good breather when the ride's over. Also, during the Haunt Halloween event, they put fog machines back there, and you cannot see anything because of the fog, and turning from left to right while being hit in the face with smoke is just really cool. 4 might be a surprise, but it's Orion. This ride might not come straight to mind when thinking of night rides in Ohio, but it's great. The first drop is crazy no matter what time of day, and the elements are all crazy for a B&M ride. All the airtime moments from the speed hill to the final dip are running so fast that it's just straight up ejector airtime, and it's great. And some of the best ejector in the park in my opinion. Plus, at night, this ride has an amazing light package that you can see from the midways and from just all across the park. And this ride is definitely an underrated night ride. To start off the top 3, it's Millennium Force at Cedar Point. This ride is pretty comparable to the Beast for being a legendary night ride. Running up the lift hill and seeing absolutely nothing to the left because it's just the lake, and over to the right you see the entire park lit up is so cool from the top. And you can't forget that the actual ride is very good, of course. The first drop and all the turns are very intense, and your sense of speed is crazy, and probably some of the best in Ohio, and definitely the world. And the airtime hills actually have airtime, so from start to finish, this is a must-do at Cedar Point. The runner-up is Maverick. Maverick, when running fast, is one of the most intense coasters in the world, and at night, it's just flying. All the whips and turns in the first half twist you from side to side so fast that it really shouldn't be legal. And the hill throughout the ride has some of the strongest airtime in the world, and I would say even at night, it's stronger than Sea's airtime hills, and that's just insane. And you can't forget the launch and the stango dives at the end of the ride, which are just straight up some of the best ride elements in the world. At number 1 is Steel Vengeance. This ride is already one of the best rides in the world, and now you can't see where you're going? Yeah, sign me up. Going through all the ejector hills at night is so intense since the ride is running at peak performance. All the inversions are so buttery smooth and great. And the second half of the ride is enhanced so much by the fact that you're weaving through the structure of Steel Vengeance and you can't see where you're going, which you already can't see where you're going during the day, and it just makes it that much better. Overall, a must-do up there with Millennium Force, and you should get in line before the park closes because I promise you, you won't regret it. Thanks for watching. Vote on my community tab, and other than that, have a good day.